people are demonizing empathy, which is shocking because I think the world needs more empathy.
Welcome, welcome everyone to Astrology with Irena. It is so wonderful to have you all here. I'm Irena, if we haven't met, and I am over the moon that you're here to play with me because I have a very, very special guest joining me today. Someone whose work in astrology has inspired so many. Dabney Lawless, who is an evolutionary astrologer, and she did her training with Stephen Forrest and earned her master level apprenticeship certification. You may know her from her YouTube channel, Lawless Astrology, where she explores astrology in a very thoughtful and accessible way. She's also been resident astrologer for Parents Magazine, Pregnancy and Newborn, Working Mother, and featured on The Today Show and in so many other countless magazines. Dabney is currently hosting the Mercury Hour for the OPA, Organization of Professional Astrologers, and she will be speaking at UAC, the United Astrology Conference in 2026. You are going to want to be at her talk. It's September 7th, 4 p.m. Because she is really has this gift of making astrology relatable. And if you're an astrologer watching this, she's going to help you break it down so that you can connect with your clients on a whole new level. So welcome, welcome, Dabney. So great to have you here today.
Oh, thanks, Irena. That's such a nice introduction for, your audience. We met in our little group, like our mentorship with Anne Ortley. So it's really fun to kind of reconnect and chat about the things that we love, because we definitely have a lot in common as far as how we approach reading and the importance of the moon and connecting with people. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And that's kind of one of the things we're going to dive into. I have this beautiful connection with the moon for sure. My moon's in Cancer. And I think one of the ways that we do connect is through that energy of being an empath and an intuitive. And that's why I was so excited that you were available to come and chat with my audience about how astrology and knowing more of where the stars were when you were born can help you as an empath and intuitive. So I want to just jump into this, Dabney. From your viewpoint, like just kind of starting with the basics, empathy or being an empath, what does that mean for you, or how does that show up in day-to-day experiences?
So I think a lot of times empathy, it's really interesting because it's getting this sort of bad rap now in certain circles. People are demonizing empathy, which is shocking because I think the world needs more empathy. I
Yeah.
mean, that is really ultimately, I think, what's going to get us over, the current malaise and crisis that we're experiencing around the world, frankly, is about putting yourself in another person's shoes. And so empaths tend to be very sensitive. Empaths tend to feel the feelings of other people, whether they like it or not. Now, one of the things that I've also learned that also empathy, sometimes you can see it in a chart. You have a Cancer moon. I have 4 planets in Cancer. Yet, you may not have a particularly empathetic chart, yet you're an empath. There may be some signatures in there. There will be some signatures, but you may have had a narcissistic parent, or you may have had some abuse in your childhood. It's not uncommon, like from a psychological standpoint, to tune in more to the adults around you and people around you in general to stay safe. And empathy can develop that way as well. And so there is beauty in empathy, but then there is also some challenges with empathy where you can really feel other people's feelings to keep yourself safe. And you have to guard against giving too much of yourself away. And so the higher expression of empathy, and I think the gift in it, is that understanding that we are all different. And I may see things through my own individual lens, but another person would see it through their own individual lens. And if you can kind of put yourself in their mindset, if you can kind of feel into why are they behaving the way they're behaving, what is their motivation, if you do it from a sense of not necessarily fear or trying to protect yourself in some way, I think there's a lot of power in empathy. And as an empath who did grow up with abusive narcissistic people, like I do know that there's dangers in being an empath as well, because sometimes we do that as an automatic, we do it automatically in order to, as a protective mechanism.
Yeah, I think you hit upon a key piece that really resonates with my audience, which is there's a safety factor associated with empathy. Something that I came to learn maybe the hard way is that as an empath, many times as we pick up on the feelings of those around us, as you so beautifully described, like with either protecting yourself because of narcissism or abusive experiences or trauma that's happened, what empaths I found can do, including myself, is in the moment, we can throw ourselves underneath the bus to calm the other person down because we are absorbing and soaking up their feelings. And it feels so bad that if we just make them feel good, we'll feel that good feeling and then we'll deal with the consequences and the damage afterwards. I don't know if that's something you've ever
So
run across.
perfect. Yes, exactly. And I think that that's exactly what I'm trying to say is like empathy isn't bad in itself. I think empathy is a gift, and I think it can help you as a counselor. I think it can help you as a friend. It can help you as a parent. There are so many places where empathy can be positive.
Mhm.
Yet I think people and I don't think that this is the talking points of the people who are demonizing empathy right now. But what I would say is having some awareness if your empathy is actually destructive to you in some way. Like you said, like we can absorb other people's feelings and their sometimes very toxic emotions to help turn the situation around. But in doing that, we are taking on way too much and not forcing them to do their own work, which is something that, and it's easy to do. Like it's easy to do because it's a gift that we possess. We're very adept at, like you said, like absorbing whatever is coming at us and transmuting it, but like we're stuck with the residue on a lot of levels, and then they don't have to deal with it, so it's kind of a perpetual pattern that will repeat.
Yeah, I'm all goosebumps listening to you talk about that because I can so resonate with what you're saying. So, when it comes to working with your clients, Dabney, because I know you see clients one on one, you offer beautiful courses. We're going to make sure we share all of Dabney's information. So, stay tuned till the end because she's got lots of exciting things coming up in addition to all of her speaking. But when you're looking at somebody's chart and let's say somebody's coming to you for guidance, what are some of the things that pop out to you right away? Let's just say that you notice they probably are dealing with a little bit more of that empath-like quality of absorbing other feelings. Are there key points within the chart that you're just looking at?
That's a good question. So I think that we find the astrologer that's right for us. And I've told this story about how the first time I got an astrology reading was like a disaster, and the astrologer was terrible. And that pushed me to realize like I could do a better job myself. And I went straight from there to the bookstore and bought a Stephen Forrest book, and that set me on my path.
Oh,
So if we kind of believe in the energetic magic of finding the right person for you, I tend to get a lot of people who are empathetic or can relate to this. Like they're drawn to me because they know that I will be, um, it's interesting. I will be gentle with them, but I will also tell them the hard truths they may need to hear. So I'm not a predictive astrologer. I can make some predictions, but I'm just working with energy. That's all I'm doing. And so when somebody comes to me and I look at their chart ahead of time, I tend to ask, I have played the game before with like prove that it's real and like, sitting with a stone-faced person, and it goes fine, it goes well, but I think a much richer conversation and what I am attracting to me now is people that actually are trying to make sure they're on their path, that they are living the conscious life that they deserve. And so I will ask them, like, are you married? Do what's your career? Like, what's up for you? Like, what is the thing that you want to get out of this? And then that actually can really help me zone in on what in the chart to look at, because a lot of them tend to be empathetic by nature. I am going to look at some of those placements, like your moon placement. Where is your Neptune? Anything that's angular. So that's going to be like the first or 12th house, third, fourth house, like right on those angles, 9, 10, 6, 7. And so they're going to have a lot of energy and a story to tell. And then as an evolutionary astrologer, pretty much the number one thing I look at is the nodes of the moon. And so that's going to tell me, what are you here to do? What is your path? And in that lens, then I can kind of pull in the pieces of where you might be giving yourself away a little bit too much, and maybe how that could be karmic or ancestral lineage. And so that's what we sort of work on and look at, how you can break free from patterns that aren't serving you.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love hearing you explain that because, again, this is an incredible example, Dabney, of the kind of astrologer that you are, that you speak in a language that everyone can understand. You don't have to have, a big, huge, long degree in speaking astro geek speak, as I call it. You make it very accessible. And I love that. And especially about the way that you share these beautiful practices. And something that you said really piqued my interest. The way that I like to say it, and I'm trying to remember exactly how you said it. I say I love to read people's charts or help them with the sacred practices and tools to enable them to step into the life they were born to live. And you said it in such a beautiful way, tying in the nodes of the moon and evolutionary astrology. And there's so many different types of astrology out there. It's kind of like going into an ice cream store saying, I want a scoop of ice cream. And they're like, okay, well, what flavor? Which is a key point to what you were saying, Dabney, which is we are naturally attracted and drawn to the people we need to be, especially the teachers and the readers or the astrologers. We may not understand it fully, but it's wonderful if we trust those intuitive little inklings or hunches. Can you tell us more about evolutionary astrology and why maybe the nodes are important? Just so it doesn't have to be in depth, but just to give us kind of a sampling, a little introduction of what flavor of astrology that is.
Yeah. So I'm not going to bore you with the astronomy piece of it, but just to say that the nodes are actually not planets, that they are points between the sun and the moon. It has something to do with the orbital. Anyway, bottom line, what's important is in evolutionary astrology, we pay very close attention to the north and south nodes of the moon. There are schools that also really bring in Pluto as very important. I do look at Pluto as an important planet as well, but the nodes really tell the story in my mind. And so the lineage that I was taught under, we look at the South Node as where we come from. And you'll have gifts, you will have talents, there will be things that you bring with you that flow and that are easy. But it's also what you already know and may have been toxic in some way in a past life or through ancestral lineage. And the North Node is where you are trying to go in this lifetime. It's what your soul is here to do. It's your mission, it's your purpose. So if my teacher Stephen always says, like, when you're about to incarnate, you go to the end of the cosmic diving board and they're like, are you sure this is the one you want? And you're like, I'm ready, and you just dive right in. And oftentimes what happens is we set up situations, if you believe that you choose the life that you are born into, we set up situations that will recreate the karma, that will recreate the family lineage. Like I said, if you don't believe in karma, it really can be this, like, this has been done throughout generations in your family and you're just the next link in the chain. But are you going to break the chain that binds you? And so the South Node really is that, like, the chains that bind you. So, as an example, my South Node is in the 6th house in Virgo. So I am very perfectionist. I work really hard. I'm a little bit of a workaholic. Like there's all these different things that, come from a feeling of servitude and needing to do for others, needing to, take care of others. And there is an empath portion of that, because what then you look at, and I don't want to get too technical, but you look at the ruler of the South Node to give more information. And so then we start to tell a story about what is that all about. And the North Node is the antidote. So the North Node is the keys to those chains, but it doesn't come naturally. You have to really lean into it. You have to really be conscious. It's just take conscious effort. So my license plate says North 12 for North Node in the 12th house, because I literally have to remind myself that I am here on a spiritual path, that I need to get out of the weeds, out of the daily busyness, and I don't always do a good job of it. It's a lifelong journey. So whoever you are, my North Node's in Sagittarius in the 12th house. That's a spiritual teacher, quite literally. And like it goes beyond that. Like, so I'm giving you little snippets. So Irena, where's your North Node?
My North Node's also in the 12th house. So as you're talking, I'm just giggling, but it's in Scorpio. And then my South Node is in the 6th house in Taurus. So when you talk about that workaholism, this desire to want to serve, for me, very much it is showing up. And one of the things I've learned kind of the hard way as an empath, and I think this is where the astrology can help, is that even though we both have like the nodes in the 6th and the 12th house, which is an area of service and selfless service, depending on what sign it shows up in, it behaves a little bit differently. So like for me, I've really had to anchor into, like you talk about bringing that old story forward, that my gifts are of value and that I can charge for them. Like, and I think this is a little bit better now in the 21st century, but years ago when I first started foraying and entering into the spiritual world, it was hard to charge. You're like, oh, it's a spiritual practice. I can't charge. But then you realize, how am I going to feed myself? Like I've got to pay for, food and a house and take care of my kids. And there's a calling to make a difference. So I love that you have that license plate of N12. Or I think I might have to do something like that myself, because with that North Node in Scorpio, part of it, because I've got Uranus and Mars up there too, is that the stability that my ancestral lineage, that karmic past says, go the stable, the predictable route. This lifetime, it's like, take the risk. Don't look for the safe, stable bet. But it is interesting. So out of curiosity, Dabney, so like when you start to discover these things about your clients and your students, how do you kind of counsel them or point them in the next best direction? Let's say I come to you and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know what to do. I give away my time, instead of it being an hour session, it ends up being 3 hours and I keep meeting with them and they keep talking. So in that situation, I'm just curious, like from you and your practice, not looking for free advice here, but just
No, but here's
in
what I'm going to
general.
tell you is like, it's so funny because for you, you're doing your 12th house. I think you're doing the 12th house stuff, but I can tell that you maybe aren't so much doing the Scorpio stuff, which is like owning your power, right? And so, and like you've got to take big risks. Like that's what you're here to do in this lifetime, is also take big risks spiritually. And so you're putting yourself out there on a YouTube channel. So you are, in that way, but you have to also understand the power of what you have and your gifts. And so if we were in a reading, I would kind of dig into that whole chart. And so the nodes are just one piece of it. And then, like I said, you then can go and you jump to, what are the rulers of the North Node? What's the ruler of the South Node? Like, where is your Venus, for example? So what house and sign are your Venus in?
Venus is first house Scorpio.
Okay. All right. So there may have been some power dynamics in a past life that held you back, that, or maybe it's a penance thing. Like you feel like you have to, give yourself away, your service away. So, I would look at like the whole chart to say like, okay, you're here to release that. Like you're here to release the partnership where you were with somebody in a past life that took away your power, who you were under the thumb of their power. And so it's uncomfortable. And so There always is. I feel like if you're dealing with an empath in a reading, it can be seen in the chart in some way. And the nodes are just one path in, right? And then, the whole story, because, the Cancer is very empathetic, all the water signs and water houses. So, Cancer is very empathetic. Pisces is very empathetic. Scorpio can be very empathetic, but in a very different flavor. And Scorpio's empathetic, but has better boundaries than Pisces and Cancer, I would say. They have a more of a survival instinct, but they can really get in there and like muck around with other people's feelings as well. So you have that ability to see into people, and you have a spiritual gift. And it's like about being conscious and saying, like, okay, I need to use this gift consciously, and that may require me stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, so beautifully said. Dabney, you're spot on about all of this. And I'm just all chills. Thank you for that incredible gift of that mini reading. And I just, I encourage all of you who are watching, seek Dabney out, her channel, her offerings, a reading with her, because there's this beautiful insight that you bring when you are just sharing. You light up. Your soul is just in this fantastic alignment of flow. And I feel that joy as the empath, talk about feeling the energy. And even just simply being in your presence and to receive that gift of your interpretation and reading has forever changed my heart in the most beautiful and positive of ways. And I'm just so thankful for you being here. Let me ask you, where can people find you, Dabney?
Yeah. So first of all, Irena, I'm going to mirror that back to you because I didn't say anything that you didn't already say. So you are an amazing astrologer. And I would say if you're on Irena's channel, you should get a reading from Irena, because she really can. With that alignment, she can see into your soul and help you really uncover your own gifts. But I will take the compliment. So I'm glad that you appreciate my mirroring to your own knowledge. Um, People can find me on my YouTube channel, which is the Lawless Astrology channel, and that's Lawless, not Wallace, Lawless. And then I've got a Chiron course coming up. So that's just going to be a workshop on September 20th. And I'm going through my Chiron return. It's kind of tough times out there in general, energetically. Like I think especially for those of us that are empathetic to others and care about the world, it's kind of harsh. And I think Chiron is about acknowledging our pain and our wounds, and then really kind of pulling forth the wisdom and the purpose in that pain. Because a lot of the times, like I said, I focused on the negative end of being an empath in some ways, like because it can be like you are, taking on other people's work. But you get that way because you've walked in their shoes in some way. You felt the pain, you felt the hurt, you've walked in the shoes. Now you may not walk in the shoes of somebody who fought in the Vietnam War, right? Like, you can acknowledge, like, I have never fought in a war. However, I have experienced trauma. I have experienced loneliness. I have experienced feeling lost. And so that sort of acknowledgement and then kind of helping give people a roadmap to their specific Chiron, which lets you know where you can then take that pain and transmute it into a gift that you can give to others that doesn't feel draining. It actually is a gift.
Yeah,
So that's what I would say.
oh, I love that. And Chiron is so impactful and powerful to learn about because that wound, if we don't address it, that we brought into this lifetime, what I've found is that it can really hold us back and be one of those self-sabotaging moments. So my Chiron's in a place 29 degrees Aries in the sixth house. So it's in this area where you know, I really, an astrologer once told me, she's like, oh, you don't feel like you have a right to exist, to kind of take up
Yeah.
space. And so when I heard that, it was so impactful because coming into certain situations, there is that natural, like, oh, I don't want to interrupt, like, oh, let me make everybody else comfortable. It's that sun energy, the Libra energy coming in. So when you know about your Chiron and where it is, and one thing too that Dabney is going to be doing in this workshop, I'm so excited for it because my Chiron return is coming up too, is that she's going to be reading people's charts who are there. So probably not everyone's because I'm sure that would take you forever. But, as many as possible, definitely this is something that you're going to want to check out because when you find this piece out about yourself, it helps you so much. Just in understanding yourself and no longer beating yourself up because like you said before, I love that imagery that you shared, Dabney, about Stephen saying, we come to that cosmic end of the diving board, we're getting ready to jump in. And I always see us like around the conference room table with our angels. And they're like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, yes, I want to learn patience and tolerance. I've got it. Pass the tequila. Let's do another shot. This will be great. And then we get down here, and we're like, oh my God.
Right. Like, what did I sign up for? Can I amend the contract? Like the
Oh
answer.
my gosh. So yeah, I just encourage you. Astrology can help with this. Dabney, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, just as a quick heads up, all of those links will be in the show notes wherever you're watching this or listening. But yeah, anything else that you wanted to say, Dabney, before we sign off?
No, I'm just gonna validate what you said about Chiron and Aries. Like, because there is a bunch of us Gen Xers that have Chiron and Aries, and we do not know how to take up space. So that is a very common theme and one that I've had to work with as well as a Chiron and Aries. So yeah, all you Chiron and Aries people definitely need to listen to Irena and I about having patience and kindness for yourself.
Seriously. And
That's all I have to say. Thank you for having me. It was really fun to see you again.
likewise, Dabney, thank you so much. And one more thing I'll just mention, Dabney has a great series on Gen X and astrology. So check out her channel, look for that. And thank you. This has just been such a joy. So much love to you, Dabney. So much love to all who are watching. Remember, trust your vibes, follow your heart, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye.